Let's go
All
here.
right, so we are live here on Sunday. What is it today? The 20, man, September 27th already. The
Mm.
year is flying by. So good evening, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in to watch another exciting episode of our podcast, Soapbox Sundays. I'm here, Cool C, Dub One, with my man Dan, and we got a guest in the house who
Mm.
always is gonna give you a good amount of feedback on whatever topic. One of the realest dudes I know, Steve, is in the house. Thanks for coming on. But
What
before we
up,
get
though?
into any of the topics today, Dan, let the people know how they can get in touch with us.
All right, you can get in touch with us on any social media platform at Athena Protection Service, or you can reach us on our 800 number at 800-951-4866. It's 1-800-951-4866. A little bit of transparency, I'm still working on the website. Since I didn't want to pay $5,000 for somebody to do it for me, I got to do the shit myself. So
I
that's
know
kind
that's
of how
right.
I go. So we'll have that up in a couple of weeks.
You using Squarespace?
No, actually, I'm still through domain.com, but I'm instead of doing Weebly, which is like a drag and drop, I'm doing it through WordPress. So I'm using WordPress to build the site, which is yeah, take a lot of work. And then I got sidetracked. I helped Tiffany with her website, and I was doing that and wasn't touching ours. So um, I'm back on track with ours right now.
Somebody in the
Awesome.
family do that.
You said somebody in the family do it?
Yeah, they do it for a living.
Well, I don't know who do it
I'll
though.
tell you what, fellas, we'll get into that a little later because our listeners, I'm sure they want to know what we're going to be talking about this afternoon. Sorry about you, brothers.
Right.
Any listeners out there can help us out, feel free to hit us up in the chat. We'd love to get back on that topic. Uh, so listen, what we normally do every Sunday here, again, thank everybody for tuning in. It's about 6:45 on this evening. You're probably watching the end of that Lions game. I haven't been watching it, so hopefully you're doing okay, but I know you're probably not. As you can see, it's still a nation over here,
Ruth
always
didn't play
representing
today.
black and yellow. Anybody know me know that's who I've been rooting for a minute. But Dan, let's go ahead and jump into it. We want to try to get in and out of here today in a reasonable amount of time. So for our listeners, let's get everyone caught up. We like to let people know what's going on with the COVID numbers.
All right, let me take a look here. So this week in COVID land, we went up about 10,000 cases this week. That's pretty bad. 132 people died. We had 6,723 total deaths, and we have 901 confirmed cases last week. That's up from the previous week where we had 692 cases, and the daily death count went from 13 to 15.
Wow. And we're going into the what we like to call cold and flu season. So people, please continue to take this uh, virus serious. We are not out of the woods. I know we felt like we went back to normal, but please continue to stay safe. Wash your hands, protect yourself. Try not to be out social gathering if you don't need to, but do what you feel you need to do. But let's not forget this is still affecting people. As I said, it's personally affected me. I will give an update on my son's grandmother. She is off of the ventilator. She's actually seeing
Yep.
visitors, so she's doing a lot better. So thanks for all your prayers and whatnot in the comments. I appreciate it, and I'm sure my son and the rest of the family does as well. So thank you. Take this serious, everybody.
Mhm.
So what we got going on this afternoon?
Man,
We're going to start, Dan.
I guess we can start with the Supreme Court justice passing away that we wasn't on last week. So Ruth Bader Ginsburg, or the notorious RBG as she is known, passed away September 18th, 2020. She was the second woman to serve on the Supreme Court, first tenure female professor at Columbia Law. She served on the U.S. Court of Appeals, and she served as a lawyer for the ACLU. She was a champion for women's rights, gender equality, and um, just a hero to a bunch of people, just because of the work that she put in, and
Absolutely.
some of the barriers that she broke, some of the doors that she broke down for women. So it affected a lot of people. She was also the first person I saw to lay in state, that they were saying the first woman to lay in state at the U.S. Capitol. So she is definitely a big deal and somebody that'll be missed.
Most definitely. And the big debate now is should the current presidency appoint a new person to the court. I
Mm-hmm.
know, ironically, not exactly 4 years ago, pretty much the same time, we had a replacement on the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
And command and opinion was that they should let the new president get in place and make that decision.
Right.
And this was the Republican Party. And I won't get into a bunch of politics because we don't want to get kicked off of the air again. We don't know what we did to make that happen. We'll tread lightly, Facebook police. Our goal was to only enlighten, but without getting into details, it's just ironic that some of the exact same people who agreed 4 years ago that they should wait until after the election are now saying that that appointee needs to be made literally within the next few weeks, which is interesting.
So some context to that. So Justice Scalia died in 2016, in February, and President Obama had an opportunity to present or a nominee for the court, for Supreme Court, and Mitch McConnell just said, we ain't filling the seat. He can nominate whoever you want. We will hold no hearings, and that's exactly what they did, because they held the power in the Congress. And now he's been asked a question prior to Ruth Bader Ginsburg passing away, and he said that he would fill that seat, and and that's what they plan to do. They intend to fill that seat before the election take place. They said Obama couldn't fill it because it was election year, and people should decide, and they shouldn't do politics during an election year. And here we are in an election year, and they're going to push the justice through. But I think anybody holding power, if they had the majority like that and they had the White House, they would probably do the same thing, and that's just the ugly truth of the situation. If Democrats was in power, they would put somebody in that chair. So, that is what it is. They got the numbers to do it, and they probably gonna do it. And there's not too much, I don't think, Democrats gonna be able to do about it, except for go on TV and whine, about how it's wrong. And the Republicans said this last time, and they hypocrites, which is true. They politicians. They gonna say what they need to say to benefit their story. So that's what I expect. I expect them to fill the seat, which is more than likely, I think, will happen, and it'll be a justice in place. I mean, that's just how it's gonna be.
So with that being said, before we got on there today in our production meeting, we had Stephen there with us this afternoon, and we talked about, just it's an election year, and the push right now is to get out and vote. We reflected on, I think it was 2008. The thing was vote or die, and it's a strong push to vote now, and the question came up, okay, vote, we get it, you with one party or the other. Some people feel that they vote don't count, or whatever the case may be. And
It don't come if you don't cast it.
The question that came up was, okay, so when we vote, then what? What's next? What do we do, in my community, in the neighborhood I live in, or if I'm in the inner city and I don't feel like things are happening the way they should be, if I'm a minority, we are minorities, not if, as minorities in this country, have things changed? In the last 12 years, what has changed since 2008 when we said vote or die? Can you honestly tell me what you feel has changed? And if so, what do you think has something to do with it? And I'll throw that question over to you, Steve, because I know you mentioned, and I won't speak for you, but just kind of refresh what we was talking about. You was saying trying to understand how voting for the election for president, how is it going to affect you on the day to day?
I mean, I don't know how to do. I don't know. I don't know too much about politics, though, honestly. But I'm so poor. It don't matter which one of them it is. They like the same person to me.
Right. And we have a lot of people who, we've had other podcasts where we talked about it briefly, and just want to make sure for our listening public, when you hear comments like what Steve made, that's not the only person like that. He's not some unicorn that nobody else has ever seen. We got a lot of people, through lack of knowledge, or just the frustration because they old enough to have seen multiple presidents. They've seen both the Republican and the Democrat in office, and don't feel like things have changed because, as Steve said, shit, I'm poor, man. So again, with that being said, how do we, number one, and why do we want Steve to go out and vote, and we want him to vote for who we think he should vote for when he feel like the vote doesn't matter, if I'm correct? And
no, it ain't that it don't matter. I'm saying, like,
right, I apologize.
the guy who everybody don't like is probably who I will vote for, because I've been doing better while he's been in the driver's seat than anybody else.
How so?
How much money I made.
You mean while you've been in Vegas?
I mean, really while I've been in Vegas, for sure.
So that got a lot to do with your geographic location more than it got to do with the jobs that's available from there in comparison to Michigan, or am I off base?
You think it's more out there or less?
Jobs?
I'm asking Dan.
Oh.
I think the job opportunity out there and the money that they can make is greater in Vegas than it is Detroit.
Well, it's different kind of jobs. You know what I'm saying? It's a transient state. It's a tourist.
Service industry.
Service and entertainment, for sure.
Manufacturing in Michigan.
Exactly. So it's a different kind of job. But I'll tell you this, I've been here 2 years. I ain't met one person who work at a casino.
That's interesting, because that's usually
crazy to me. Like, I'm baffled. I don't understand. Even people in my family who I know and I talk to, I'll be like, y'all ain't got no friends at the casino? We can't go to the restaurant and get a hookup, or before this virus happened, they don't go to shows, none of that. And that's so I don't think one thing got nothing to do with the other. I don't know how much of a part he play in the stimulus checks, or how the unemployment work. The unemployment changed people I know life. This has been the best thing that ever happened. My people love Corona.
Interesting.
For real.
And
motherfuckers ain't never made this much money in their life. So, I don't know, dog. The other guy look like he about to die.
I can say that about both in certain ways, but again, we don't want to get kicked off of Facebook, so I don't know if
my bad.
I ain't really worried about that.
But back to the topic.
So you can't depend on unemployment forever. So they're not gonna let you just ride unemployment for the rest of your life. So what you gotta say?
I think you missed the point. The unemployment was
a game changer. I get that. The unemployment was a way to stimulate the economy. I completely understand that.
Whoa. Do you get it?
I do get it. I didn't get it, but I get it.
I ain't talking about the extra, what was it, 600 or something like that? They was getting. I ain't talking about that. People You been watching the news? I know y'all good news watchers. There's a lot of fraud going on right now.
Okay.
This is the game changer I'm talking about. I ain't talking about that.
Right. Break it down for us, Steve.
I'm saying it was a woman in Detroit who got caught. She had like a couple $100,000 in cash in the house. She had defrauded for like $2 million, and she worked for the state. You know what I'm saying? So it's other plays being made right now. People using that money to do other things. This is more than a game. This is a life changer that's happening right now. Everybody ain't buying gym shoes with their money. This is a whole new ball game. It's a class shift. It just depends on where you sit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know how much y'all make, but I make less than $30,000 a year, and this is the best job I ever had in my life. That is horrible.
Exactly.
How long you been working?
I've been working since May 16, 2019 at this job.
No, I'm saying, how long you been in the workforce?
Since 2015.
So how much you think you're supposed to make?
How much do I think I'm supposed to make?
Mm-hmm.
Depending on where I want to make at least a living wage.
What's that?
A living wage?
Yeah.
I make enough money to pay my rent, my energy bill, buy groceries.
30,000. If 30,000, is that not enough, or what you call a living wage?
No, it's not enough.
So what do you call a living wage? You think you should make 50?
At least, at the minimum.
Doing with no particular skills, like that should be minimum wage?
What skill is more important than the service industry?
I'm just asking you a question.
I mean, it depends on what you call a skill. First, you're gonna have to define skill.
Like what skill set should you have to make $50,000?
I think that should be the minimum that anybody makes.
Okay.
But
Sure.
Before we can define skill, where I'm about to work at. You know what I'm saying? It depends on what kind of job I'm about to have. It depends on what I'm gonna be doing. Like, it's more to it than that. That ain't a simple question.
Okay.
That ain't no question.
I think I get where you're going with it, Dan. If I can interject here, more so on the, let's define what we think needs to be a living wage, kind of mirroring both of what both of you saying here. You know, Dan, you asking the question, and I think the question is a legit question, and not in the sense of challenging what you're saying, but just trying to get understanding. Because you say that the 30 is the most you made, you know, that's still not really enough for you to be able to live what you consider to be, whatever you consider to be. I don't want to define it, you know, for you personally.
No, I make less than 30.
Right, I'm corrected. Exactly, make less than 30, and we trying to figure out realistically in this country, and this is where I'll kind of paraphrase, in this country with the amount of resources that we have, if we saying, hey, if you wouldn't get up and go out here and put in 38 plus hours a week as a full-time employee and work full-time, you know, what type of benefit package should be the minimum that you have as far as medical and dental and eyes and things of that nature? Is there any type of long-term investment available, i.e. 401 or any type of things like that available to you, and what that minimum should be in a country like America? And I think that $50,000, I would say that would be a realistic number. And I get it. People say, whoa, because what you made a great point here is you said, even though it was based off of fraud, people took, when you gave them some money, right, wrong, or indifferent, everybody didn't just go to the rim shop.
For sure.
People took this money and they said, hey, I'm gonna stimulate the economy. So with that being said, because I know people in the comments gonna kill me for this, if we said a minimum of $50,000 a year is what people should be able to earn, how would that stimulate our economy? I don't even think people would be worried about if somebody making $50,000 a year, if that's the minimum in this country. Because I think at that point, everybody would be able to, we'd be able to I know it sounds like I'm in a fantasy here, but I feel like that would put us more realistically in the point where we wouldn't have the domino effects of the pouring ran down communities that we currently have, the crime levels, the overusage of drugs and alcohol, because of the what I consider to be the systemic depression that we live in sometime when we grow up in these environments. And I like to always resort back to, we say fix it, but we don't have any type of blueprint.
Look, when you as poor as I am, it's a benefit package at my job. I don't partake because that means it's gonna take more money out of my check.
So you can't even afford to take advantage of the benefits.
And it's not really a benefit. Like the package they had at my job, your medical situation got to be at least $2,500 before they even involve themselves. Well, I ain't got $2,500 in the first place.
You got to spend $2,500 before they'll cover anything.
Exactly. But I'm saying the average person, we don't even make enough to save.
Right. Interesting.
So if I don't make at least enough money I'll give you an example. If your rent is $900, right?
Fair.
And your phone bill, I'm talking about a trash phone, a Metro phone, is $100. We had $1,000 for the month. You still got to pay your light bill. You still gotta, some places you gotta pay your water bill. You still gotta have transportation, whether you take public transportation or you have a car. You still gotta buy stuff for your house, like Ajax, dishwashing liquid, garbage bags, stuff like that. But you only making, let's say $1,000. Let's say you making, what I make, $1,800 a month.
Excuse me. Okay.
You dead. You dead. You don't have nothing. If you ain't on a strict, disciplined budget, or you got a hustle going on, you dead. That's not a living. That's not a life, dog.
Right.
That ain't no life.
Great point you bring up. So back to the voting, because we're talking about voting at the highest level. We're talking about voting at for the president of the the United States, and that's how we started this topic. And we saying that that's where we need to start. But when when you at the level that Steve is talking about, he's at currently, and his not his opinion, his reality to what he feels about the election at that level is it has no effect. So let's talk about when because Steve is not, as I said, he's not some unicorn. He's not just one out of a million. He not saying he don't want to go out and work. He's not saying that he want a free handout. He's saying, hey, if I'm willing to get out here and work 40, 38, I say 38, full time. I'll just say if he wasn't to work full time and be able to live a decent life, $50,000 is, kind of what we said he felt that's his opinion felt, and I agreed. I felt that would be realistically, that would most definitely stimulate the economy. But when we talk about the voting at that higher level, let's talk about voting more so realistic for most of our listeners, and if you not this you as a listener, but just knowing that we have people like Steve in our community, and we live in this community, we see it every day. What can they do at that level to affect these type of changes? And we talked about a little bit in the production meeting, and Dan, you say it all the time, voting at your local level and affecting change in that way is a start. When you feel like the presidency is like somebody telling you got to eat this whole chicken in one bite instead of breaking it up into legs, thighs, wings, and breasts like we all like. So we saying let's start at the local level, and let's talk a little bit about that. And Dan, if you can give me your opinion on at the local level, the type of things that.
Man, Minimum wage is $7.25 in the United States.
Wow.
$7.25. That's $15,000 a year.
Wow.
That's some perspective. Now, $15 an hour will get you a little bit over $30,000 a year, and that's what people kind of pushing towards. They want $15 an hour. I don't think people should make $7 an hour. I don't think it's a way to live off $7 an hour because, and I mean, in just being realistic and saying, even if you got a metro and you living as frugal as you can, you go to the pantries, the free food pantries, and you do everything you can. If you're making $7 an hour, you really ain't making enough to eat. But it's a ton of jobs out here that's $7 an hour that you got to work, and then you got to get another $7 an hour job and work 80 hours a week so that you can get close to that 30,000 mark.
But you don't get the 30.
No, you don't get the 30 because the taxes is set up. The taxes is set up because they're gonna tax you somewhere around 28%, especially if you're single and you don't have any property. And if you make minimum wage, you don't have any property. So if we talking about taxes again, then let's go back to why you should vote for a president that's gonna give you a break on your taxes at the lowest levels.
Yeah, but the thing is, even with the voting locally thing, where do they vote?
Your minimum, well, on the presidential ballot is also the state representatives for your state who are in your state government, who in your state house and in your state senate. Those people are on that same ballot who control your minimum wage. So
I bet you could walk out your door and ask 10 people who that person is and they know their name.
Well, this is why we on here talking and why we should try to figure out how to get people to understand that who those people are in they districts. And
because even with the voting locally thing, I'm serious when I mean, I don't even know where they do that. I don't even know where they vote. Carl said something earlier about, no, that was you talking about
it's the same ballot. It's the same ballot.
No, where does it take place?
Wherever your voting location is, if you register to vote.
That's
generally it's at a church or it might be at a school. The voting locations are different for each precinct where people live in.
I bet you people don't know.
Right. So great point you bring up, Steve. And what we're trying to do is by having this conversation is number one, if you're not familiar with where, we'll post that in the comments, but you most definitely, that's the first step, is finding out where you need to vote as an individual. Understand that when you're looking at it, I referenced it or I paraphrased it as trying to eat the whole chicken at once. You know, trying to figure out the presidency. I personally feel, and we talked about it in detail, that start at your local level. Start trying to affect where people who you actually have a chance, or you should have a chance in your community to run into these people, or know where you can go and voice your opinion at local meetings, council meetings. And we're talking about at the local level, starting with your city council in the city that you live in, getting familiar with them and understanding. And the reason I say that is because in our meeting, we had a great conversation, and it was an aha moment for even me. And Steve, you could just tell us about, this was when you were still living here in Metro Detroit. You was actually living in downtown Detroit. And tell us briefly about the story of you just was out riding and noticed, some individuals in the neighborhood.
People in the comments want to know if you registered to vote.
Hell no. I ain't registered to vote. I just vote for who? They the same person.
They are absolutely not the same person.
But can you tell me why?
Well, I can, but go on with your comment first.
So before we hang on a second, before we answer that, because I get where the listener's going, but trust me, anybody that's watched the show long enough know I usually have a method to my madness in my questioning. I'm trying to get us all to the same place. Trust me. But I want Steve to break down something in his community that I guarantee he is not the first person who has seen something like this. But just break down what happened and what you took from it and how you felt about it and why.
I was riding through my neighborhood one day and I saw a bunch of people who wasn't from my neighborhood sitting in the park under a tree eating. So I got closer so I could see who they was. Looked like they was mostly Mexicans.
Okay.
And I asked them why they was in the park. And they said, of course, they was having lunch. I said, yeah, but why are you over here? Like, what you doing over here? And they said they was working. And I asked them where they was working. And it's a school. It's called Legacy Academy now.
Okay.
And they was renovating the school. You know what I'm saying? They was doing the grounds. They put a field out there. They redid the parking lot. They redid the inside. So they was telling me about the project they was doing. And I was like, all right, you know, I pulled off. But in my mind, I went, hell no. I bet you ain't nobody from the neighborhood working on this site. So what I told the people that I know when I saw them later on that day, because we all be at this park every day, it'd be a bunch of people up there. When everybody got up there, I told them about what I saw and what I just found out. And I was like, we need to shut the site down. Because I guarantee it's people over there, even laborers, is probably making anywhere from $15 to $20 an hour. And people from the neighborhood need to be working on that site because that's a game changer. Now you can get into the construction field. Maybe you can learn a new trade. Right. Or you might meet somebody who you cool with who go, hey man, you be working hard every day. You show up every day. You want to come on our next job? You never know what can happen, and wouldn't nobody feel it.
Right. So I want to break down what you said, and you can step in and correct me because I want to dig a little deeper into what he's saying and how he said it, because it sounded like, you know, at first he was, you know, mad because somebody was in his neighborhood. It was just somebody that was different, just happened to be Mexican. You know, asking what they were doing, it was just a curiosity. It wasn't about claiming no sets or none of that. He wasn't throwing up gang signs. It was just being interested in what's going on in my community outside of norm, which we need to do more of. I won't get on my soapbox yet, y'all. You know, I'm getting close though. But he also immediately saw that as an opportunity because it was work that was being done in that community. He's seen that as an opportunity for people like himself and others in that community. Why aren't they getting those opportunities and those chances? So a lot of times we go through in these neighborhoods, we go through, and I guarantee you, people saw them and didn't think nothing else about it. Just said, hey, they over there, man, I'm glad it looked good over there. They finally cleaning it up. You know, it takes somebody, you know, his mind is in the right place. He just needs some guidance on how did he go about organizing something like that? How did he go about, because he said, hey, he talked to the fellas and was like, hey, we need to shut this down. And they couldn't grasp and comprehend what his overall goal was. And in order for us to start doing things like what Steve was talking about is when we wrap this whole thing up and understand the importance of why you need to be registered to vote, is so that you can go and make these effective changes in your community through your city council. Because you're supposed to have people on your city council, not supposed, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. The people on your city council have to approve these type of renovations or these type of construction things. And they need to know and understand in your community, because they work in districts. Within this district, anything to go on, some way, somehow, it need to be a percentage of people locally here to get an opportunity to do this. So guys, when we talk about voting and the importance of voting, too many times, and y'all know I like to talk about the AAU basketball team shooting the free throws. Too many times we tell people, hey, go out there and vote. And like I said, 2008, we told them, man, if you don't vote, you're gonna die. You are literally gonna die. So you got people like, shit, I don't even know where to go vote at. Am I gonna die on that day? Am I die the day the president get elected? You know, the official day, when am I gonna die? You know, and then when they didn't die and shit kept being what it was, they said, oh, well, you know, they was lying. It was a bunch of BS again. So we have to break it down and understand that, in my opinion, we need to get people like yourself, Steve, who, you know, just don't understand it and it hasn't been broken down. It need to be more realistic, because this is not somebody, you know, because I feel like in the comments or in somebody's mind, they may be thinking this is an individual that's just clueless or don't have an idea of what's going on. No, he cares about his community. He see things going on in his community, and he know that there should be opportunities, but don't know how to go about doing it. And I would say, let's start with first making sure we know how to register to vote, and then starting with your community, the places where you're gonna see the biggest difference at the fastest based off of who you put in there. And those meetings are public. So you had opportunity to go to those meetings. If you can't make it to it, you can still look at, usually there's a public station where you can go back and look at those council meetings. And now we in the 20th century with the age of the internet, you can go back and find these things on the internet if you can't make a meeting, and see what type of things are being discussed and seeing what type of arguments people are bringing forth, and then get involved that way. I have family members that are involved in the city council, and we complain about a pothole that might be on your street or on whatever street you're on. Everybody know about that pothole, and it might have been there for 2 years. They just stay out of that lane. Everybody in this neighborhood know that. It's kind of like the elevator next day air for those of you that like that movie. Sometimes it don't. But I know somebody that was able to say, hey, you just got to make a call to such and such office, and they'll come out there and fix that. You got lights out in your neighborhood, night, it's too dark, they'll come out and fix that. So it's things that you can do at the local level. So before everybody want to beat somebody up and say, hey, you got to register to vote and go vote, we got to be a little more, in my opinion, we got to be a little more understanding and just know that everybody don't know what you know. You assume they should, but they don't. And regardless of why they don't know, that's not the issue. If they're interested in trying to find out, or if you can make it interesting for them or make them understand at their level, we might get some stuff happening here. So we most definitely put in the comments how you can register to vote and find out where to go and do that at as far as voting in this local election. I'm sorry, in this presidential election, because we know it's important. I don't like to use terms like vote or die, but it's important that we utilize this right to vote. And I could tell you many reasons as to why. But understanding that if you want to see some immediate change, it'll have to be at your city county level. And that's probably one of the easiest places where you can affect change in your community.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts? What are we getting in the chat? Anybody have anything they want to add or break down?
I'm with you, man. You ain't just say nothing that I don't particularly disagree with.
Okay.
I think that there's all kinds of levels of government when we go to vote, and we need to keep that in mind. And we gotta educate ourselves before we hit the polls to know who these people are that's on the ballot that we voting for, especially the judges that may be on the ballot, or the state representatives that's on the ballot, or the city council members that's on the ballot. All those things are important, and you should know who these people are, what they represent, or who paying for the election. Where the money coming from is a little bit important too, so the ideology that's like behind the candidate.
You look like you got something in mind there, Steve.
I'm thinking, who got time for that? It's not nobody who really poor and really working. Ain't nobody got time for that.
You got time for whatever you want to have time for. That people.
Unfortunately, that's not true.
That's all the way true. We all got the same 24 hours, and yeah, we do. It's 24 hours in every day.
We ain't
how you use that 24 hours is up to you. If you want to educate yourself on the political system, that's up to you. If you don't, then don't. I'm not here to tell nobody what to do. If you choose to utilize your time differently, then that's on you. I'm not the guy to do that for you.
The same voting conversation every single election.
What was that? Say that again, Steve.
And this is why we will always have the same conversation over and over and over and over. Ain't nobody got time for that who ain't got they life together. For whatever reason, yours might be. Shout out to you. But most people's ain't. So ain't nobody got time for that. I can't even pay attention to that. As soon as you start talking about it, I start thinking about, damn, I need some money. I ain't even listening no more. Especially if you ain't gonna take the time to translate it into a language I can understand.
About what?
Anything involving politics. Remember I called you one day, I said, hey man, explain to me the problem with Trump. Because I don't understand. What is the problem? You couldn't. Or you didn't. I don't know. But
how did you not know? Did you said you called and asked me what did I say? Because I don't remember this conversation.
You said that he was doing stuff that was gonna have an effect years later.
So like you wasn't fucking listening is the issue.
No, you said he was appointed.
No, you said I said he was doing stuff. I don't even talk like that.
You did.
You know that's bullshit.
I just gotta think about
I don't talk like that.
What I'm saying yet.
Okay.
So, what I was saying yet.
Go on. Go tell me what I said. Help me out.
So what he said that
okay.
I don't remember he said.
Yeah, wait. First of all, I'm old, so I got to
okay.
All right.
I'm older than you, and I know I didn't say that.
I gotta jog my memory so I can
please jog the hell out of it. Get it in shape. And let's get into it.
Well, long story short, man, you said that the stuff he was doing was gonna matter later. And ain't no later. I don't care about later. Later means nothing to me.
Okay.
But this goes for all these places. Like, where do they have city council meetings? I don't know. You say they open to the public. Why they have them somewhere behind closed doors? If it ain't wintertime, why they don't have them outside?
You asking some crazy fucking questions. Well, maybe they're not that crazy. I don't know why they don't have them outside. I mean, but if you interested, all you got to do is look it up and find out where it's at. That shit don't take that long.
I ain't interested, but you telling me I should be interested.
Well, if you're worried about how much money you make, you should be interested. If you think you should get $15 an hour with no particular skill set, you should be interested.
Whoa. One thing at a time now.
No, we talking about the same thing.
I'm not interested, but you keep telling me I should be interested.
You want to make a livable wage or don't you?
Hold on, you want me to be interested in something, you ain't told me where it happened at, you ain't told me who gonna be there, or you told me that I was welcome, but you ain't give me no address.
Do you want to make a livable wage or not?
Hell no, I want to make way more and do way less.
Okay. As we
or
all.
at least do something I want to do. Most people don't even want to work where they work.
Okay.
But that's a whole nother conversation.
It is.
I want to stick to this voting thing because that's what y'all talking about. Y'all talking about voting, local politics. Again, most people don't know where you go vote. A lot of people don't know where a city council meeting is. A lot of people don't know who is the representative for their area. They don't know none of this to the point where it's almost like a secret.
It ain't no secret.
Because when you ask somebody like you, they don't answer. They tell you to go look it up. Why am I looking up some shit I don't know? I don't care about. I'm only caring because you keep telling me I should.
You want a livable wage or don't you?
I just said more.
Okay, then if you don't fucking vote to get that livable wage, then you won't get it. And if you care enough about how much money, hold on. Listen, if you care enough about how much you make in the living that you have, then you're gonna investigate how to get there. Either by getting the skills that pay what you need, or by going through a legislative process of getting the wage increase, if that's what you care about. Clearly, you don't give a fuck about that because you didn't look it up.
You're telling, but you lying. That ain't the only way you make money.
I'm not saying that's the only way you make money. I'm telling you, you care about a livable wage.
No, I want more. But that ain't the only way you get it.
I got to interrupt you guys for a second here. We got a guest that just jumped in. Love you. How you doing, ma'am?
Hello. There we go. Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you. We can't see. Oh, there you go. So, how you doing this afternoon, Miss Shay?
I'm good. I had to hide in the bathroom.
Hey, we understand. We know you got loved ones or a little one. I ain't gonna put too many on you.
Yeah.
Right. So thanks for jumping in. As we always say, we like to have a guest come on, and we got Shay on here, a longtime friend of Dan's and myself. We got you on here. I don't know how much you've heard, but what we're talking about right now is the importance of voting and how do we get that message out? Because too many times we just say you need to vote. And back in 2008, I think we went so far as to say you got to vote or die. And it sounds good, and a large amount of people understand the importance of voting and why, or at least they say they do. But we got Steve on the podcast today who's being totally honest, which is why we always have him on, is because he's going to give you his opinion. And I got to be honest, I don't think that's just his opinion. I think there's many out there like that. But to catch you up, he's saying we keep telling them you got to go out there and vote. And in his experience, he haven't seen a change from one, whether it's a Democratic president or a Republican, at his level, which he's considered himself to be, on the lower crust, not considered it. The reality is that he makes less than $30,000 a year. And he said, break down to me why this shit is important to me and how am I supposed to go about doing it?
Did you see her face?
Right, so I know that's a lot I just threw at you, but that's what we're talking about.
Sorry, I'm extremely animated, and I be trying to have my little facial expressions, but
you could never be a poker player because you could not hide that.
Yeah.
But it's all good. I love it. I love it.
Woo. That was a lot to take in, but the bad part, I'm one of those people that feel two ways about it. Have I seen change between who we vote in office and who gets in office? Sometimes, yes. Yes, there have been differences. I don't follow politics that heavy because to me, and just under my own research and knowledge in the past 40 years, I honestly believe that voting has been something that they tell us we are doing and show us that it is working, and then at the same time it's not. They keep
that down a little bit for me if you can. Just break that down briefly if you can for me.
Whoever they really want in office, that's who they're gonna put. Okay. The people have the power, have the money. The people that have the money have the power. And if they want who is going to keep them powerful in office, it'll happen. At the end of it, it'll happen. A lot of people like to say that, oh, well, the country is kind of ran like a factory. The little man is what keeps the president and everything in his position. I don't believe that. Whether we here or not, whether we vote or not, whoever they want is going to be in there. Now, does that affect our financial status, jobs, relations with the rest of the world? Hell yeah. So in one aspect, it matters because if you don't, you can't complain. And when I say that, it's like, okay, it's the same, for lack of a better phrase, it's the same concept as a condom. I'd rather need it and not, I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. I would rather vote
condom
count than not vote, and it would have counted, but I didn't do it. So, to me, it's really to each his own. But at the same time, if you don't vote and nothing does change, and you find out later on, hey, it did matter, don't complain. Like, really don't complain. I mean, you lose your voice when you don't do anything.
So just to recap, we just had Shay join us, and we got Steve on here. And Steve, I know we got a limited amount of time with you. You got to get on to the next project here in a moment. Appreciate you being on for this. So some great perspectives here. We got Steve, who's like, I don't get it. You know, make it make sense to me. I don't see the difference from one to the other. And then, you know, we got Shay, who, you know, in some respects feel like you know, these decisions are made by higher powers than us. And we all just cogs in the wheel, if I'm correct on both of you guys' opinion on that.
Yep.
Just to break that down, and Dan, we know that you're adamant about voting and getting out there and affecting that change. I will say that I think that for starters, yes, we can't complain if we don't get out there and vote. But again, saying even that, as catchy as that is, because, you know, I like to call that a catchphrase. You know, we say that all the time. You know, I've even seen some on some of the social medias where they break down how many Black people didn't vote in the community or in a state, and it always be more than enough to have changed that state vote to be something that would have affected the outcome differently.
Right.
You know, it would have been a Democrat would have won over a Republican if more people would have voted, more Black people would have voted a certain way. And you know, those phrases, it's kind of like I watch a lot of sports, and in sports you hear the same terms over and over. If you're a Lions fan, you really hear the excuses over and over about what they need to do in order to be successful. You know, we got to better prepare. We can't make the mental mistakes late in the game. You know, we got to do better with penalties. You know, anybody that's a Lions fan, they hear that every Sunday evening after the game. They hear those type of comments as to why they lost again, which I don't know where they at today with the game. I hope they're doing better for our listeners that I know are local Lions fans. But anyway, when it comes to the election, we hear all of these phrases, and I see these, you know, these heated debates. So it's good to have people to, first of all, come on here and just be totally transparent and be honest with how they feel or what they think is going on. And just wanted to know if, Dan, if you had something you wanted to add or talk about in regards to that. How do you feel about those?
What, the Lions?
No, I know.
I knew you was gonna say that. I knew you was gonna say that.
Just give us your perspective on the importance of voting, in your opinion, why you think it's so important to vote. I know you talked about, you was breaking down earlier how, and again, put words in your mouth. I know you're very articulate. I don't want to do that, but you was kind of talking about some of the things that the president can do to affect change that will, you know, be in place years after they're in office. I think you was talking about voting in judges.
The Lions won by 3.
Oh, okay. Shout out to the Lions. Man, my night is complete. We can log off of this podcast now. We're done, folks. The Lions won.
Yeah, the president gonna do a ton of things. Like right now, we
break it down.
We dealing with some tax implications recently from the tax changes that took place, where you may have gotten more money in your check, but you might owe at the end of the year. So those you know, little things that happen that we got to be wary of. But the president's also put judges into place, you know, different district judges, appellate court judges, Supreme Court judges. He make all those nominations. And he, you know, is in charge of our foreign policy and other different issues that go through the White House. But besides that, and I don't want to get stuck on that, there's a bunch of local politics on the ballot. So just because the president on there, that ain't the only thing that we need to be looking at. There's several other runs for office, elections that's taking place that we need to be wary of.
Yeah.
What was that, Shay?
Yeah, state and local.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Those are really direct perspectives for real.
So the question I'll not the question, but the statement I'll make, and I'll give it to our listeners as well as the rest of you on the panel. How do we close this gap, this realistic gap in our community specifically when it comes to voting? Because again, I was told if I didn't vote, I was gonna die. And I got people on here who I know the game. I've been around for a bit. I think I'm the senior on the podcast here. I didn't heard it all, so I knew it was a political push back to the statements that are made in sports all the time. But we got people that are at totally different extremes just here on the podcast on the panel with voting. How do we close the gaps and get, number one, a better understanding for those that don't understand, and not just say, well, you need to understand and you need to go research. And the gap between, why should I vote? Because, they're going to put who they want in there. And even if it is who I thought I wanted in there, they're going to dance to the music that somebody else put on for them anyway. They ain't going to even play any of our requests. The DJ ain't listening. And then we got, Dan yourself, who, seems to most definitely be politically, and I won't say, and I'll say more interested in the politics. That's the best way I can describe it. More interested in it than some may be. How do we close that gap? How do we try to affect a change? And let's be honest, and that's the question I feel need to be asked more than anything is, what change are we looking for? And how do we get that change? Because number one, we got to know what we want. Because it sounds like it's the same old thing year in and year out based off of some of the opinions on the panel. How do we change this? And if somebody can, chime in and give us their opinion on that. How do we change, these opinions that we have just on the panel today? We got people who say, as I said earlier, we got a lot of perspectives here, and they're all realistic. We all come from the Black community, let's be honest. And we're looking at 4 different walks of life right now in the sense of our opinions and our understanding of it. How do we close that gap and get us closer together? Because we got to get together on this in order to start getting together on other things that I think will affect our community for years to come.
Pam, if you pay $100 to vote, I don't care which way you vote. If I paid you $100 just to go vote,
I vote.
I'll be there.
Interesting. I thought you were saying Pam, like Pam from off of Martin. Pam who? DDB? No, she said pay them. For people that wasn't listening, she said pay them.
Yeah, I honestly believe.
Show me the money. Interesting. How do you guys feel about that?
Couple things in the comments real quick. Where one of the issues was brought up was the reason to vote would be the issues that we're going to see on the Supreme Court, which might go away, which is Roe versus Wade, which is about
abortion.
Have an abortion, which you may very well lose with this new justice coming in. And we could see the next 30 years where you might not be able to just get an abortion. I know it sounds crazy, but that's what happened in the early 70s. You couldn't go get one. People was going to these,
They were getting them, they just weren't legal.
Yeah,
there were a lot more opportunities for there to be complications and even loss of life.
So we got that on the line. Obamacare is on the line. People may not have the coverage that they have. That's what we're looking at.
Great. And again, just to paraphrase, and the thing about a podcast, which is so great, is we get to see the facial expressions. And I'm going to shoot back down to you, Weavy, and ask, and I'm going to ask you this. I think I already know the answer, but how do you feel about Roe versus Wade, as well as how do you feel about some of the other things he said, the Obamacare being possibly taken away?
I don't know what Obamacare is. I I don't think the Roe versus Wade thing would ever happen. I don't even think it's nothing to even be concerned about it, and I don't think it'll ever happen because they wouldn't take it away because it would affect white people, and it's just never gonna happen. There's too many white women who ain't about to let that happen. So I don't care about that. That ain't got nothing to do with me.
They got the votes.
Who got the votes?
The Supreme Court.
You saying that they have the votes for it to be taken away?
Yeah.
I still don't think it'll be taken away.
We'll see.
I think if you think the protests and the riots that happened a few months ago over police brutality, you think if that's something, take that knife from them crackers.
We'll see.
They'll show you how to tear it up. But like I said, whatever. But I don't know.
Roe versus Wade, not just a white-black thing.
Right.
Just
Break
every
it down,
woman
Shay. Give your opinion on that.
Everybody of every nationality in the U.S. would be affected because it would dictate whether they can choose life or not. And then on top of that, it would affect our economy because if you got women out here who are making conscious decisions that they cannot afford or take care of a child, but you're forcing them to bring one into this world, you're going to see a lot more babies in dumpsters. You're going to see a lot more babies on hospital doorsteps, fire steps, police stations, all of that. The welfare system, that's going to totally change because if I'm okay out here by myself, but then I get pregnant and I have a baby, where do you think I'm going? It's either I'm going on welfare or I'm be out here sucking dick for $5, something. But
That
to
sounds good.
take that right away because it's
Mute his mic, please.
I didn't even say nothing. I didn't say nothing.
Sorry, Shay, continue your statement.
y'all terrible. But it's everybody thing because it's gonna affect all of us, white, black, any of that. It has nothing to do with color at all. Me as a black woman, I've had to make that choice before. And if I ever thought, and when I did it, it was a choice between my career and having another baby. No, I couldn't do that.
That's exactly why I'm saying they'll never get rid of it because it is going to affect more than black people. It's going to affect white people, and white people ain't never finna let
They don't care about that.
It's
They don't care about that.
not
Who
about
don't care?
They've been systematically cutting down abortions across the country for the last 4 years.
Cutting down what?
Abortion rights.
yeah.
Abortion rights.
Yes.
Okay, I got you.
They've been trying to close clinics, moving clinics, defunding abortion clinics. They've been doing everything they can to keep people from getting abortions.
Yeah.
And if they get the opportunity to get rid of abortions altogether, you better believe they will. There's been an ongoing systematic progress that's been happening against abortion. And if now that they got the seats on the court to get it, you might see it happen, especially if they push this latest justice through.
Here's the big, if you take it out of women's rights and medical this and that, how much money does it cost to do an abortion? How much money does it cost the insurance, welfare, whoever else to have a baby?
They don't do it like that no more though. They take the pills now. They don't even do like the surgery no more.
When did you grow a uterus?
Well, I just paid for an abortion recently.
You sure?
Pills. She didn't have a surgery. Yeah, I was there. I watched her take them.
That is not the only way. And leave.
Oh, I ain't saying it was the only way, but listen, I didn't even know they didn't do surgeries no more. When they whipped out the pills, I was shocked.
No. They still do.
I think we get off topic here a little bit as far as details of it, because I'm sure our listeners be able to chime in on that. that wasn't quite the point. I appreciate the input on it. Thanks for your recent investment, Steve. And I'm sure that was, but the fact that you and that person was able to have that right is something that, back to what Dan is saying, that uh, we literally have people wanting to make that decision for you.
Yeah, for sure.
And I can honestly say, in my opinion, I don't agree with that at all. And I
Me.
think if I can piggyback on what Shay was saying is, or was alluding to, is we have people that want to dictate that right only in the sense of you not being able to make the decision to not go forward with life. But once you tell us we have to go forward with the life, how do you effectively help those who can't afford it? I.e., how do you take care of these kids that you're saying we have to have? How do we continue to take care of them when our situation don't afford us that? You know, it's almost like the concern is we care about the baby before it get here, but after it get here, your poor ass need to figure it out. I think that's a legitimate concern. And like Shay said, that's not just in a Black community, that's in any community. You know, women make these decisions. You know, I didn't want to turn into an abortion debate, but women make these decisions based off of
Right.
what they feel is right for them. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, and this probably gonna get us kicked off of Facebook. I heard a comedian say it, so I'm only quoting what I heard from a comedian. But he asked if the woman has that right because it is her body, why doesn't the man have the right to decide that he don't want to be associated with the woman and the child for whatever reason they have? Why don't they don't have that right? I'm not.
On that note, I agree, and I gotta go. I gotta log into work.
Hey, we appreciate you coming on. I'm gonna finish this thought. Good day. Thank you so much. We're gonna stay on this, and I'm gonna finish explaining what the comment I just made was based off of a comedian posing the question. But let's be honest, that's a question that you know, was most definitely started a huge debate, and we'll keep that in our back pocket for some of our future topics, because that'll be an interesting one for sure.
It's gonna be interesting.
But again, back to the topic we're on today, getting out there and voting and the importance of it. And you know, we had people that was really transparent on the panel today to say, hey, you know, number one, I don't necessarily always think that our vote truly is affecting change. And on the bigger scale, I would probably understand how people could feel that. I mean, I understand, I get it, you know, I understand all walks of it. I feel like I can understand everybody's opinion on it. If that's possible, people may say I'm riding the fence right now, but I understand every view of it. And I understand when you at certain times in your life, you view things differently. It's no different than when you was 18, what you thought was cool and the thing to do, you probably don't think that right now. You know, for our listeners out there, it could be a host of things. So what we got to do for starters is, when we have people who aren't seeing or understanding, i.e. this topic, voting right now, we're talking about a very important election coming up. How do we close that gap and get people to understand the importance of voting? And even for those who may not understand it, how do we get them to a place where they at least are willing to get out there and vote based off of what you can enlighten them on? And we found that it can't just be vote or die. You got to get them something to, you know, something they can understand and grasp. And when I say they, people who don't feel like you feel about it, who may be in your inner circles out there in our listening public.
Mr. Vapor, it's and maybe because I mean it's going to require a little more thought and a little more bouncing of other people in other circles, but I mean it's a simple answer to what everybody seems to be making a complicated question. Why shouldn't you vote? Why should you vote? The answer is, if you don't, you can't get mad at what happens. If you do, you can get mad, but at least you can say you participated, because
I think the flip side to that, and I understand what you're saying, and again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here because these are the phrases we hear every time we have a major election, and a topic we talked about, and probably the biggest part of our show is we talk about things that happen in our community. And right now, and I won't say just right now, we consistently continue to see Black and brown people um, affected in ways like no other races, with violence, uh, be it from the police department, be it the racism and the housing community, and a whole list of things. That we continue to see these things, and people will say there are some changes going on, but they're not enough. How do we get those people to understand what you're saying or agree with what you're saying about it's important? Because they're going to complain. They don't care. They're going to complain because that's what people do. They complain. So
Right.
people are going to complain. Hey, little man. People are going to complain regardless, in regards to what they feel is not right. Or they're going to challenge and say, hey, these issues with the police departments and the amount of lack of safety and how they deal with and de-escalate things in the Black community, people are going to argue and say that these things, they don't see a change. They consistently see it to be what it is, or even to say it's gotten worse. I think that there's politically, I think there's people that are benefiting off of making it seem worse than what it may be. Absolutely. But just as a whole, people who, like our guest today, Steve, said, I don't see no change. And I appreciate his honesty, but we got a lot of people that feel that way. They don't feel like they've seen any change. How do we get them to understand the importance of voting?
Well, that depends on what change they're looking for.
right.
You looking for change in your wallet. You're looking for change in your community. You're looking for businesses to start coming up in your neighborhood. Where money is invested. All that stuff come as a result of how you vote and how you build relationships with the people that you put in the office. Just voting for people is not the end of the road. You have to keep that
And that's the
it's
key.
an ongoing relationship where you got to be engaged with the people that you elect to make sure that you're getting what you want. And then you have to be organized to make sure that if you don't get what you want, then you'll find a suitable replacement for those people. And they have to know and understand that.
I think the bad part, a lot of people are looking at this election, as this presidential election, because he's not a person like what you said, Dan, where it ain't like we just pick up the phone and be like, hey, this is what's happening. It's a whole bunch of steps to the process to get that far. And then we also have community governments that deal with that. So the president don't deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
But that people don't see that part of it. Like they right. See it. We're putting in office a person that's going to be deciding our fate in the community. Yes and no. Like directly, but indirectly, he is or is not. But the person that we do choose does need to be someone of substance, someone, and even though you're a politician, that's kind of hard. Mm-hmm. But it does need to be someone who we can actually back and believe in their political platform, and like actually believe it, like believe that something is going to happen. And like you said, and when it don't, we need to have people in the state and local government who are actually going to stand up for us and hold them accountable, or make noise so that they are held accountable for it. But people, they don't see that little middle part. They see us, then they see, and they like, he's not changing that. Every president we've ever had has done something to change how this country maneuvers, whether it be good or bad. I just don't want to be here for the bad.
Right.
Right now it's bad. To
Yeah.
me,
We going through a hell of
that's just too much.
a health crisis right now.
Yeah.
You know, which some people will argue is due to inaction by the current administration.
You
And
talking about the pandemic.
that's right, knowing inaction by the administration, and putting people in place with no experience all across the board almost. And you know, we suffering the consequences of those particular decisions. And you know, even as far as, you know, education or health, and we looking at health right now because of the pandemic, and we see, you know, the guy he got running the response team is a radiologist. He doesn't know anything about the disease that we dealing with. So I think, you know, having, you know, somebody, the proper people in place is important, and somebody making those decisions. We want to be comfortable with the guy or woman that's making those decisions in the White House.
The man pretty, and I mean, it's kind of a slight topic shift, but just to put a pin in it for a hot second, if you look at the history of the U.S. over the past, let's say 50 years, every time there's a presidential election, there is some sort of chaotic something.
When was the last time we had a complete shutdown of the country, though, because of that, whatever happening?
But that's the thing. We've never had a person in office like who we have in office either. We had some retards, but this one is just took the whole cake. So, you know, and then on top of it, I honestly believe that man would do anything to do this again for the next term. So why wouldn't he go that far? Why wouldn't that plan be put into place where, hey, let's make them so scared to even come out and vote.
Mm-hmm.
Do come out and vote. They probably ain't scared of no flu or corona or cold. And the main people who I hear this from all the time is, I'm not going to the polls. You even got corona. Well, it's stuff you can get the Ajax won't get off, but you're not worried about that. People still out here.
Yeah.
Doing stuff. Right. They
Right.
got me clean. But people still maneuvering even now. If you look around, you go places, people like this.
Yeah.
They're not wearing a mask. Mm-hmm. It's not. So it's like, you know, and those same people say, I'm not going to vote because I don't want to catch corona. Well, I mean, you walk around regular public like that. But I honestly believe that happens for a reason. There's a problem or issue with the country. And it just so happened that this time it's something that shut the whole country down. But there's a reason behind it.
Oh, I'm sure. I don't disagree with that.
So
now, like, what is the solution to us not voting, especially with the addition of the pandemic? Like Annie Oakley down the street to come out and vote when she 92 years old, and she like, all right.
She can mail her ballot in and drop it off. Actually, you can drop it off.
I don't believe in mail-in ballots. I don't believe in those. I don't think they.
I'm pulling up to the polls. I already saw some shenanigans with the post office, so I'm pulling up.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, didn't we have this before? Some election or whatever, we look up and this still happened multiple times. But we look.
Yeah, 4 years ago.
After. So it's like, how do they get counted if they get in there after the fact? Or not at all?
No, I'm sure there's tons of.
They need a drop box at the election office instead of even going through the mail. Just drop it off.
That will be a shorter route than the mail, because then everything's going right in. And that's a simple solution. You're not gonna do it.
So I'm sure that there's tons of people out there, because I've heard these type of things before. Shay brings up a good point. people feel that Corona even itself has been a conspiracy. And like I said, most people that feel that way about the Corona, you may not have lost anyone close to you, had anyone close to you affected by it, and feel that way. People are saying that even the testing itself is a way to collect DNA from everyone, because there's a huge push to get everyone tested. So there's a ton of things that people out there fear, and I guess it all boils down to me, unfortunately, and this is just, again, my opinion, it sounds like we have a ton of people who are losing or have lost faith in our current government. And how do we, what can we do at our level to try to affect these things that we consider to be the deck being stacked against us? And again, like we talked about at the beginning, I think what we can do at our level, because I don't feel like we really can affect some of those bigger entities of our government, but we can start at the local level with those people we see and those changes that they make. Our goal on our podcast every week is not to instill any violence into anybody's thought process, as well as our goal is not to fill your head with things that may consider to be conspiracy theories. But we are here to try to enlighten you and get you to maybe think about things a little bit differently than the way you have thought about them in the past. And we most definitely will give you what we consider to be advice on how you can affect change. And if anything else today, and this is for our listeners out there, if you decide to go out and vote, understand, and I know it sounds cliche and whatever, but people fought hard for us to have this opportunity, and for us to go out and take advantage of it, right, wrong, and different. If you're not doing it because of who you feel you think should be in place, or you don't think any of them should be in place, exercising that right to vote. If it's not at the higher levels, you most definitely, you can't tell me you feel that way at the local level. So start there, and maybe you will work your way up by the next election to be able to understand the importance of your vote there and being involved in it. But just know that it's a bigger picture. Sometimes you are a cog in a wheel or a machine. And even though you don't think that you're important, it's kind of like a car. If you pull one of them spark plugs out, one little spark plug and a big ass engine to make the whole engine stop working. So if you could just look at it in that aspect, we as a community, we need to effectively continue to try to make change. And the only way we can do that right now is through the voting. So do yourself a favor, listeners. Do a little bit of research. I know your day is busy, but if you got opportunity to listen to us, you got opportunity to take 10 minutes and find out what's going on in your community, understand it a little bit better. It's almost the equivalent of those parents out there that have kids, you not knowing any of your kids' teachers and not being involved in their school at the young age. I'm a strong believer that once kids get older, they need to take on those responsibilities, but that's another topic. Anyway, get out there and do your research, folks. If you are happy with the way things are in your community and you don't have any concerns, then continue living how you live. I know most people I talk to, that's not the case. Right. And it may not be financial for you, but it most definitely might be safety wise. It might not be safety, it might be medical. Whatever reason you need the people, the powers to be, to make the decisions that they need to make so that it'll affect you in the way you need to affect you. That's what you gotta put your hat on, and that's what you gotta ride on. If you're gonna find something to ride on, that's what it needs to be. Because I guarantee you there's something in your life or in your community that you would like to see changed. And whatever that change may be, that's where you're going to turn around and figure out how do you make that change in your community. Because it might be as simple as, you know what? Our community is too dark. That's why we feel like we had a crime we have. Can't nobody see these thieves or whatever it is. It may be, you know what, there's not enough jobs in my community. People can't afford, to take the bus all the way out to a suburban city where they paying $12, $13, hell, $15 to work at a fast food restaurant. Whatever it may be, those are the things you need to figure out and put your hat behind trying to affect those change, because it won't happen without you. Like Shay said, if you don't get out and vote, you have no reason to complain. But people gonna go out and not vote, and they're still gonna complain. We know that. That's why we've been saying that statement for as long as I've been able to vote. I've been hearing that.
Yeah, we gonna ignore them though. So I want to change gears. Shay, what you think about Breonna Taylor situation?
I have some.
Well, let's catch him up real quick before you answer that, Shay. Dan, if you catch, which I would be shocked if there's somebody out there that don't know what's going on, but the officers were found not guilty in the murder of Breonna Taylor this past week, and we're getting some insight from
Officers do a no-knock warrant at her apartment. They go in. Her and her boyfriend were in the bed asleep. They hear knocking on the door. According to the boyfriend, he yells, "Who is it?" She yells, "Who is it?" There's no answer at the door. Then officers come in, and the boyfriend, believing that it was her ex-boyfriend, who was a drug dealer, who the police believed that Breonna was involved with his drug dealing, and they were there to look for cash or drugs. He fires a shot because he thinks there's an intruder coming in the door. And after he fires a shot, they fire tons of shots, ultimately killing Breonna. She ended up dying in the hallway. And ultimately, the prosecutor sends it to a grand jury. And the grand jury found the officers not to be liable for her death. And the only officer was charged with, I think it was wanton negligence or something like that. I have to look it up. I don't remember the thing.
Wanton engagement.
Yeah, wanton engagement. He was outside the apartment shooting, and that's why he ended up getting charged, because he couldn't see the threat. So that's what happened. None of the officers were charged in her death.
To answer the question, how do I feel about it? As a Black woman, I feel like there are too many of us getting killed in similar fashions by the police on every level. As a mom, I feel the same way. As an officer, I feel the same way. With her situation, because I have been a part of a warrant team and a raid team, to me, you're supposed to have a level of self-control. And though I am always one to say I will not, and I'm basing my opinions on the information that I have, and that is all, not that I was standing here. I do like to Monday morning quarterback anybody, because what you see and everything else when you're there is totally different than what everybody on the outside is going to end up seeing, hearing, even on videos.
Yeah, when they got time to process it.
Right. And even with that, I still feel that there should have been a better level of self-control. Do I feel like the officer should have walked? No. A mistake is called a mistake because it's exactly that. Whether it was intentional or not, we whoop kids every day for making mistakes. Them officers didn't get a whooping. I don't care how severe or minor the punishment was, I do believe there should have been a punishment. because someone at the end of it lost their life. You can sit down for a year in jail. It is what it is. You can sit down for however long. She's not gonna never get back up. She's not here. Her family doesn't have her. You know, she is extinguished from this earth. And to me, it's not fair that she lost her life on something I mean, at the end of it, it could have been, it can always be handled. It could have been handled differently, I feel like. But like I said, on the police aspect, I wasn't there. Mm-hmm. So, and I solely believe that the media, attorneys, judges, and all of that, everybody on that end of the spectrum, they only let out enough for us to pass judgment on one level. And that's whichever direction they want it to go. And with that being said, because we just had a situation recently where officers was getting judged way before stuff. So it's like I can't say, oh, well, you know, they hate Black people, or they just over there for that. I can't do that. I wouldn't, but you know, it was a mistake, and they should have been treated as such. You know.
I agree.
Thanks for the input, most definitely.
I don't think it was a black and white issue. I think they went in there and got shot at and returned fire. But they returned way too much fire, and they were shooting at somebody and hit somebody who was not shooting at them. And in law enforcement, you're responsible for where each of the bullets go out of your gun. So the fact that she was killed during the raid, regardless of if she was even guilty or not, if she wasn't shooting at them, and if the story turns out to be true, that the boyfriend was truly afraid and he was in the right by, you know, shooting at an intruder, but then they also had a right to return fire if they coming in the door getting shot at. I started to question, if you were in there for a no-knock warrant and you knew that she lived in there alone and you knew where she worked at, why didn't you go where she was at work? Like, there's a bunch of different questions I got, you know, as far as how the whole thing was handled, and why even, and on an administrative level, why these guys not in trouble.
Yeah, because, you know, we've had guys on DPD, they might not get fried in the court system, right, but fried with DPD. So it's very different, you know, and I don't know what that department's policies are or anything else, because you do know they stuff differ across for period. But even still, at the end of it all, somebody who was not shooting died. And that's it. That's, to me, that's it. That's the picture. That's it. You know, everything else is almost irrelevant because she wasn't the one shooting and she's the one that died.
It almost reminds me of a case, and I know that there won't be exact similarities, but it was most definitely similar when we had, and actually, if I'm not mistaken, we had that situation where that little girl was shot during a warrant that they were actually taping for a reality show. Right. And those officers, if I'm not mistaken, were found to be guilty for negligence. Right. And if I'm not mistaken, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but these officers still can be liable to be, you know, case to be brought against them for negligence, if nothing else, because you bring up a great point, Dan. Okay, even if they were being fired upon, it wasn't from her. Mm-hmm. You know, so this person was wrongfully killed. I don't care how you look at it, no way, shape, or form. And I know, yes, people like to, you know, compare it to, you know, other situations. Every situation is different. But how, the question I would still have, me personally, would be, how is no one still not liable because this person was wrongfully killed? No ifs, ands, and buts about it. This person was not shooting. All those other points are great points as well, but just for me, that one little simple fact has me confused. But Shay, you brought up a very good point, and I'll say this, and if I haven't said it before, I want to make this statement about what we consider to be respect and the lack of respect that is shown to Black women so often is why this is such an outpour. People may be looking at this emotionally, but when we consistently see Black women get treated the way they do, and even in some cases, and again, I scratched this surface and I'm only gonna scratch it just a little bit, it brings the separation between us as Black men because so many times our Black women don't feel like we are protecting them. And I think in a lot of cases, because hell, trying to protect you is going to get us killed as well. But again, not to take away from my initial point, I wish we can get to a place where the Black woman is respected more than what she is right now. We talk a lot about politics, the lack of respect there. We talk about it every day. We talk about it when we talk about kids. Our Black young women coming up missing at alarming numbers, the way they're treated just across the board. This is not right, and I'm not saying this to get likes or anything like that. Yes, I like women. This is just a fact that, is blaring, that the lack of respect for Black women is sickening right now, and it has to change.
So
And back to our original point and topic of the day is we have to most definitely continue to be a strong voice in our communities, the fight to get these type of things changed. We seen in the Kentucky how that prosecutor sees and prosecutes things. It may be too late in this instance, but get to know and understand what your politicians back and what they agree to it or their political input. What their views are, because
all of them.
at the end of the day, the prosecuting attorney's office and i.e. the actual prosecutor, I don't think that that's the case where that person felt that that Black life, as we like to say, mattered, or that Black woman's life mattered, because the timing on it, I know people wanted a speedy reaction to it. I don't know why it took as long as it did. I think in these cases, the facts are available really fast. So of course that made me feel like there was.
Taylor case?
I'm sorry.
Talking about the Breonna Taylor case, why it took so long?
Yes.
Probably because they sent it to a grand jury and the prosecutor didn't handle it himself. That's probably why it took so long. And that other case with the little girl Ayana, that Officer Weekly, there was a mistrial.
All right.
They had 2 mistrials actually, and I don't think they're gonna try him a third time.
Okay.
But they charged him with manslaughter and reckless endangerment.
And I was gonna say, at least, and mind you, no matter what, and like I said, mistakes are mistakes. It is what it is. Whether you're a good or bad person, it's a mistake.
Right.
But to me, at least they tried. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it don't work, it don't work. If he's not found guilty, it's a mistrial, whatever.
And at least that's the frustration in this case.
Yeah, because they're not even being charged at all under no circumstances.
I think we kind of looking at race with her case, with Breonna's case in particular, is because when we look at Justine DeMine, who was the white woman that was killed in Minnesota, they wrapped that thing up fast. I mean, that officer
wrapped shit up in a bow in like 5 minutes. So
yeah, they gave him 3rd-degree murder, manslaughter, and her family got $20 million. And it happened in a matter of months. So it was not something that was drawn out and took a long time for them to take care of.
Well, this is the bad part, and I've said this a few times. When it comes to Black victims, they will criminalize the victim and victimize the criminal. They will make whoever did what the bad act was look so, oh my goodness, it was really like that. Or they gonna make the victim look like they ain't shit and they just, over they do. She used to have a dope boyfriend. So what? She's still a person. She got 8-10 kids. So what? She's still a person. Like they will turn that person that is the actual victim into someone that you like what kind of life was you living? When it's not about that. It's like your life is your life. Well, however you live it, but does that mean that you need to die because of someone's mistake or improper procedure or excessive anything? No, it doesn't. Under no circumstances. And mind you, I've had friends and family who have had to deal with a few circumstances and situations with the law, but it's like, dude, no, nobody deserves to lose their life over no bullshit. Gnats is killing me. Sorry, I hate gnats.
It's okay.
We all hate gnats.
Apple cider vinegar.
I think we can say that without getting kicked off of Facebook. We hate
Apple cider vinegar, dishwashing liquid.
That shit don't work.
Yes, it does.
I got hood gnats. They don't.
Yeah, in the bathroom, they're coming out of your sink faucet.
Pour
They
some
come up through the faucet system.
Yeah, pour some ammonia down there. It'll be fine.
Yeah, pour that down the drain. Hey, if any other listeners out there, we charge $5.99 for that informational video. That will help because people are like, damn, I know I'm not a nasty person. Why the hell do I have gnats in my bathroom?
Yeah.
Because gnats are not flies like maggots on dogs.
Just so people understand that this time of year in particular, usually from August through October, the gnats are in your sewer system, a drainage system. They will come up through your faucets, i.e. while you see them in your kitchen and in your bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even charging for that little tidbit information. As we continue on. So we talked about a lot today.
Mm-hmm. I got a question in the comments for you.
What's that?
What you think about herd immunity?
Break that down for me. Herd immunity.
That's when you get everybody sick and then everybody build up antibodies because so many people got sick.
So if I understand this right, so you're saying this is something that the government is offering, or you saying the individual that made everybody immune system stronger?
No, this is what the current administration has been pushing. To get as many people as sick as possible is when a high percentage of the community is immune to a disease through vaccination or through having the illness itself. If everybody gets sick and then we build up antibodies, then it will lower the number of people that's sick. That's what the White House is pushing right now.
That is the most ignorant shit I've ever heard.
So,
and that's just the honest truth. Like, we gotta all get syphilis to build up an immune. What the? No, I don't want. No.
Well, I understand it, but I'm like Shay. I don't agree with it because to me, it's like the flu shot. You know, the flu shot that you get every year is. Someone in the chat, if you're a little more knowledgeable on this, you can correct me. But the flu shot is actually injecting the flu into you to build up your immunity. I know I'm not pronouncing it all correctly, so I apologize. But from what I'm understanding is the flu shot, which I don't take myself personally, is for that reason.
Right.
But this thing, if you take a flu shot every year, why are you taking a flu shot every year if the flu is different every year? Because when I was pregnant, I had flu A and flu B. I've never taken a flu shot. But then at the same time, you get people who take the shot, they still get sick. Ain't this supposed to keep me from getting sick? Ain't that the point of immunizations? I figured let's get it and fight it off, period. And I'll build up my own antibodies. Like these are the same people who don't have a cure for the common cold.
So
I think one that's this. I would there's a cure for the common cold. I think that it's just big business to sell you Robitussin and everything else that's on the shelves.
Because I think typically with any sickness, we're talking about the flu and cold season. To answer your question first, I don't agree with it. Like I said, I hear what they consider to be the conspiracy theory that the government uh, wants to control. I mean, think about it. If you could control the environment in this current state with the climate that the world is in, if we control the overall population, I think that I wouldn't be surprised if, in some way, shape, or form, our government wanted to play a part in that. I mean, it makes sense to me. Uh, so I personally don't agree with it. I think that some of these sicknesses, like they say in other countries, they live differently. We travel more now than we've ever traveled. I know I personally, my immunity, I can't drink water any place outside of Metro Detroit. As far as if I was going to drink some water out of a faucet, I can't drink water when I go to Atlanta. I can't drink water when I go out west. I can't drink water anywhere when I travel outside of the country. I most definitely can't drink the water. It always bothers me.
You drink the water in anybody's faucet, even here.
Oh no, we've got some clean water here in Michigan. Now, maybe not in Flint area, but we have some of the cleanest water out of the faucet. And I'm talking about people have filtrated water systems on their faucet and things, still don't work in other communities. Here, and maybe it's because I'm immune to the water here, but that's just one example of how things will affect our system that we're foreign to or that we're not used to. Something as simple as water. You're not supposed to be drinking water anywhere in the United States out of a faucet that's deemed to be for human consumption. You shouldn't drink that water and get sick in this country. Drinking water out of a stream while you're on a hike, then yeah. But you should be able to turn on the faucet in the United States of America and get fresh, clean water that doesn't make you sick. There's a whole bunch of things you should and shouldn't be able to do in this country, but you should be able to drink some damn water and not get sick.
But that's the thing. The bottled water industry is big business. The medical industry is big business. Being sick is big business. All of these things that we have conscious issues with is big business. Like,
you ain't gonna catch on that.
If it costed $1 to get you well, and that's all you had to pay, but it cost you, and it cost you $500 a week for me to give you this one little pill that kind of made you feel a little bit better, but then the next week you start feeling sick, so you gotta buy another one. Which one you think I'm gonna give you? If I can tell you that the water in Michigan is the cleanest water in the country, but taste this bottled water too. It's good. It's wonderful. Which one are you gonna drink the most of? The shit you gotta buy for $1, $2, $3, or the shit out this faucet?
All I know is for a whole bunch of years before I started paying for water, I used to drink water. Hell, as kids, we drank water out the water hose outside.
Out the hose.
Other than that raggedy rubber taste you would get from the hose, you was good.
If you brought your ass in the house trying to get a glass of water, you better get your ass up there and then drink.
Yeah, because you got to wash your hands and you got to wash out the cup. Yeah, as kids, you wasn't about to do all that. You was on the side of somebody's house, and it didn't matter. You'll go up to anybody's house and just turn water on and get you a sip.
We thought it was crazy to buy water from the store. Like, why would I?
Yeah, that was a joke when it originally came out. But I had opportunity to live out west where, as a young man, and you couldn't use the water out of the faucet for anything without, you would have to at least boil it. But we couldn't even brush our teeth with faucet water. Live in California. And this was a while back, but people out west, they'll tell you. Absolute Pure and those type of places been making a killing for 40, 50 years out there because they've never had quality drinking water.
No, they make a killing in Africa. What is it, Nestle? They're making a killing over there.
So to answer your question, long story short, Dan, no, I don't agree with that at all. I'm concerned, but we know that kind of back to what we talked about politically. We know that the government plays a huge part in a lot of things that go on. It's kind of like I like to tell people, it's kind of like if you got to really see how most of your food was processed. Even at your local restaurants, if you've seen the things that they did with the food, you would probably never go to a lot of your favorite restaurants again. And I'm not saying that people are purposely, but
no, in all honesty, yes, they would. Yes, they would. I've been to a sausage processing plant. I watched Super Size Me. I've been to where they slaughter the cows and all of that. I've even seen a horse and deer slaughtered and dressed and all that other stuff. Show me the venison. I'll eat it. Show me. I'ma eat it. So you can inform people all you want. A lot of us now are desensitized. These are the same people that you're talking to that's eating chicken nuggets from McDonald's, but if you bust that chicken nugget open, it look like nothing but Elmer's glue wrapped in batter.
Mm-hmm.
So it don't matter if they see it. How long do we have the video going around on Facebook where you see them raking like 500 baby chickens into a grinder and pops the nuggets? People still eat them things. Now you can't pay me to eat that. But
and we could break that down most definitely. I agree with you, Shay. All of those places. I think most people, if they went and saw that, they probably wouldn't want to eat anymore. But I think a big part of why those things are still out here and being consumed is because we have such a huge disparity in the poverty line. And when I say poverty, it could be somebody making $30,000 a year, as we talked about earlier in the podcast. You can't afford to go shop at Whole Foods and get quality food off of $30,000 a year. You're gonna be at the local grocery store. You're gonna be at the fast food restaurant eating processed meals because number one, lack of time and lack of quality of food is why those places are able to be successful.
But the bad part, you still at $30,000. Our parents lived off that, but they did stuff like had gardens and community gardens, which we have been getting back to. But if you had your own garden in your backyard, don't you think you would eat better?
Probably, but we got to remember $30,000 in the '80s ain't the same as it is today.
No, and that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there's a capability of doing it because it's a lot cheaper to buy seeds and grow food. Now, mind you, in the meantime, you're still gonna have to eat.
Right.
Is what it is. But do you have to eat shitty? No, you don't.
No.
You really honestly don't. People just
It's
choose
convenient. It's convenient to eat shitty. Well, it's convenient and it's cheap.
It's the price, I think. But when we say realistically, we talked about it in great point, Dan. Love to jump into this next part of it. We talk about people getting things done. You made a comment that I've heard many times. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. So we all are capable of, whatever it may be. And I say we all have the same 24 hours. And I think Steve was going to try to go down this road and maybe wasn't able to articulate himself because he knows you're an ultimate debater. So he wasn't going to be able to get his point across to you. But I think when we say that, I think that people have to understand that it's a thing called time management, and then there's even fancier word called organization.
Mm-hmm.
And when you lack the time management skills and the ability to organize, you will find yourself not able to utilize those 24 hours the same way. It's back to, educating someone and teaching them how to utilize the 24, because having a garden, You're gonna have people that live in the community where they don't even have the cleaners of the neighborhood. They could put a garden up, but they got to worry about rodents and small rabbits and raccoons savaging it and not having the time or effort or the ability to be able to maintain a garden. I know with the type of work that you do, you don't have time to maintain a garden as well. You do have 24 hours in a day,
Right.
just like Farmer John, but I can't honestly say that I could see you or well, probably realistically, I could man the garden. I think this 7 hours of sleep I keep trying to get every night is not realistic in this current environment. I should only be sleeping 4 to 5 hours.
I was gonna say, how many hours of sleep did you say you were trying to get?
I try to get 7 to 8.
That's pretty good.
But again, in my situation, it's different.
Oh.
My situation is different than Shay's when we talk about situations. I don't have nobody who I have to feed, clean,
so you
up after.
Definitely I can come snatch all your peppers and all your cucumbers. You got time.
And that's my point. I'm saying I personally can't say that I don't have time, but I know
if you make time, you can get up an hour earlier or whatever you want to do. If that's a priority for you, you'll make time for it.
And I don't think that people, when you say priority, I think that too many times people need an actual, basically you got what we call leaders and followers. Everybody can't be the chief. You need a bunch of Indians. And in our society, it's always got to be a lower class. It's just been that way for centuries, hundreds and thousands of years. Yes. It's always got to be a lower class. And I really think that, people are still continuing on those same things. We have people that are leaders and we have people that are followers. Most people want to get up and they want to just make it to the end of the week. And the reason behind that, we think about it, we talk about our parents, we talk about back in the day. And for us in our age group, we'll say, when we talk about our parents and our grandparents, we talking about, say, the 50s and the 60s, right? And the way things were back then compared to how they are now, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know that I'm sorry?
Who age group?
I'm saying any of our listeners typically.
Don't pay me no attention. I just pretty much snuck in saying that you was old because me and Dan not your age.
Whatever, ain't that damn old. we still, when we talk about our parents, we still talk about the same parents. My parents is y'all parents. They the same age, trust me. Dan's mother ain't that much younger than my mother, and I met your mama. She ain't that much younger than my mother. Yeah, I know your mama, but that's a whole nother topic. Anyway.
I don't even know how to take that.
Well, how are you taking it? Stop, because it ain't that.
No. Look, the difference is us and our kids live in an age of convenience. Our parents did not. Grandparents did not. They didn't have microwaves and stuff, and fast food. The fast food they had still took 20-30 minutes to make.
Right.
That was considered fast food.
Or even the household in general. I mean, the household in general.
Yeah, didn't run like
structure. The dad went to work if you still had a father in the household, or if the mama worked, she worked 2-3 jobs to maintain the house. Couples right now in this day and age, both the husband and the wife have to work full-time jobs in order to raise a family.
But then you have single moms, i.e., who you full-time job, which hours can fluctuate. You going to school, you might be 40 with a little person and a mid, what are you, a preteen?
Mm-hmm.
and a grandkid. So, I mean, it's a whole lot there. Yes, we all got the same 24 hours, but for lack of a better phrase, what I eat don't make you shit. My life ain't the same as yours. So,
And that was my point.
availability is different.
You know, it's hard because we have so many different things. Like I say, I hear it because I'm a single man, regardless of what people out there thought. I am single and been single a long time. But my point is relationships are different now.
That was interested.
Huh?
Look,
Anybody that was interested, you just threw that on.
No, because my man on the previous on the podcast, before we got on the podcast, he was like, he thought I had been married for the last, 40 years or something. I'm like, first of all, I'm not that old, but no, I'm not married. But anyway, that's not no, I wasn't saying that. I'm not doing a promotional ad right now, trust me. My point in bringing that up is expectations in relationships now are different than what they were back then.
True.
That's gonna be a topic.
Huh?
That's gonna be one of our next topics.
Okay.
It's a great topic because I think, and I'll say this just so people be ready for when we say it, I think that a lot of times in relationships, people want what our parents had, but they don't want to do what our parents did. Example, in a relationship right now, and it's not a bad thing, women are more treated equally, or we're attempting to treat women more equally than we've ever done before. I talk about just being in elementary, and when I was in elementary and middle school, and the things we did as little managed boys, as they like to say, right now we have all of us on the sex offenders list. Just the little silly things that was just considered to be the norm when we was growing up in elementary, as far as slapping girls on their rear end and stuff like that. Those were common things that kids did growing up. And yes, it wasn't right, but nobody was talking about prosecuting anybody for it happening.
I can't agree with the part of it wasn't right. It's a part of growth because it's a total, and I have a different outlook because I got a little boy. I grew up with boys. I'm a tomboy, been a tomboy my whole life. And I honestly don't agree with that as far as, now that would be, it's like, Because I got two girls first. And I've always taught them, little boys shouldn't be touching you in your nighttime places. But there are situations, and I've explained to them, little boys are inquisitive and curious about your body just like that. You are theirs and they're their own and you yours. It's different.
If you was to make that comment right now, not if, because you're making it, so I can't say if, but that comment you're making right now will draw more argument and scrutiny than it would have back in the 80s, for example.
But that's what I'm saying. But people have to realize children are children and they need to let them be children. I'm not saying let your little son run around here smooching on titties and booties. No, but
that's what we was doing.
But this is the thing, to a degree and to an age. Like you parents now don't talk to their kids the way that our parents talk to us. Like my daddy wasn't good. My daddy was like, look, they do it, knock them out. It is what it is. Now girls are seeing something totally different on TV, social media, and everything else. So no matter what we say to them, and we have to like drill it every day. No matter what we say to them, they're so busy trying to be accepted by their friends and by society and school and everything else that what you say that went out that way and everything over here just going in and soaking in. So it's like, you got 6 in one hand and half a dozen in the other. It's wrong, but it's still a part of the growth process. Like I believe the reason why, and I know it's gonna be some people that's gonna be like, Shay, that's me. I honestly believe the reason why we have so many gay men is because somebody stopped their growth process of understanding women in some aspect.
And that's part of it. That's not all of it. That's part of it. Oh, don't touch them. Don't touch them. But then they always hanging out with other little boys. Well, who the hell ain't gonna touch?
That's most definitely an interesting take on that one. I want to get back to my original point of how we got on this block.
You started it.
As we continue to grow, as we have growth in our communities and our understandings of our boundaries, I think that it's a good thing. We most definitely need to grow. I agree with Shay. We need to do a better job of communicating to our young ones and making sure they understand their bodies and whatnot. But my point in what I was trying to say, which was a huge statement when I was talking about being single, I think a lot of times out here in society right now, there's a perception that we want the old school ways in the relationship. I hear women all the time saying, I'm looking for security. I'm looking for a man to, hold me down. I hear women make statements like, it's crazy that a man, and this is just general, I'm not talking about me specifically. I'm trying to bring up a point here, so don't get mad with me, listeners. I hear women saying all the time, I'm looking for that security. I want a man, how dare you think we getting ready to split bills? I'm not doing that. Your responsibility as a man to take care of me and take care of the household. And that's a huge stress on the man. It's always been a stress on the man. It's been a stress on the woman to take care of the household, like we said, if she's single. But as far as a man and a woman and the expectations in the relationship, typically today is most women are looking for that when they get into a relationship. I'm not saying that they don't have their own, right, but I'm saying we're talking general. Remember, we're a vessel for this conversation when we have these topics on the show. If we only went off of my opinion, people will be really pissed off. So these aren't just opinions, my opinion only. These are general opinions that I come across. So if I could clear that up for any of our listeners out there. But I'll cut it short. We have a lot of people that want to have relationships like we had back in our parents' day and age, and I hear it being referenced to that. But also, I don't see either one of the parties wanting to put in the work that our parents did in order for the relationship to be that way, and for multiple reasons. I.e., right now, the way people want to live, the man can't be the only breadwinner, and the woman live with that man and be in a situation that she considered to be comfortable.
Not unless he makes.
She can't have her. What was they calling it? It wasn't this summer because of the pandemic, but what was it last year? I think Megan Thee Stallion made it popular. It was hot girl summer. They was jumping on planes and vacationing with their girls and doing all of that. Think about your mama and your daddy back in the 50s or 60s or the 70s, Shay, the 80s, whenever it was your parents was born, the 90s, Shay's parents was born in the 90s. So I'm being funny right now. So your parents, realistic, we're talking again, 60, 70, maybe the 80s, like I say, shade of 90. Parents, you couldn't do those things. So our society has changed expectations in the relationship. In some sense, people are trying to keep them the same, but you can't when you want to live in this day and age with the way you want to move. You want to be able to jump on a plane. You want to have your own shit, even having a car. Most families growing up, y'all had one car. Your mom and dad didn't both have a car.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Again, you're talking about you specifically. You walk up and down your block and you think about it, and you're a little younger, like you said, you only 20, so it's a little different. My point is, in general, back in the 50s and 60s in the relationship, you're not going to tell me that your mom and daddy both work 40, 80 hours a week. If you did, you ain't grow up in a struggle, because unless you had 40 brothers and sisters, most of the time your mom was at home taking care of the household, or I understand there was single parents out there or single moms who had to work 3 jobs. Bottom line is, it wasn't no bunch of hanging out and partying. People had to get to work. Money was not available like it is right now, where both people can go. You cannot tell me that both back in the 80s, and the equivalence of it would have been, would it be considered to be a well-to-do family right now, middle class. Right now I'll say $45,000 or $50,000. Both husband and wife in a traditional family right now realistically could be bringing home that type of money, 50,000+ each in the household.
But that's the thing. There were families then. Like, I grew up in a 2-income household. My mom was a hairdresser. My dad was a police officer. A lot of people, when I was younger, had the same life, but at the same time, I did have friends that did not.
And that's typically the majority, not the minority. That's my only point.
No, that's what we see and talk about, and that's quote unquote the norm based on what society presents to everybody. Like, we still have to take into consideration, even though our children are right now, our children are affected more by the media than we were, because we was too busy watching cartoons and stuff every Saturday, and other than that, we was outside playing. Like
30 media outlets, right?
To be out. But we still had that, okay, 2-income household, we both putting in, we both doing work. And my parents took trips. We take family trips. My friends would come. I go with my friends.
That was not the norm.
Yeah, that ain't normal. We only went to Babalo.
That is not normal, Shay. That's all I'm saying. And again,
what do y'all think I'm talking about? What do y'all think I was going to Paris?
I don't know what we was going. We went to Babalo and Belle Isle. That was the only 2 places we went.
And the point I'm trying to make, again, I'm not trying to individualize it, Shay. I'm trying to say a generalized statement now and even back then. I'm not saying that everybody was just broke ass, because people had a lot more pride. People kept up their community a little bit better than they do now. But all of these things have an effect off of our society and our political actions that are being taken place in certain communities. I ain't trying to get into all that. I'm just saying a generalization of what we aspire when we talk about our parents, and we compare it to now, because it's not the same right now. We can all agree on that, right?
Not the same.
Not the same.
Not at all.
But what I hear a lot when it comes to relationships is, I want it like it was back then. And you can't have that, because of the simple fact that right now I'm hearing a generalization, because people will say, well, what type of woman are you dating? I'm not talking about me personally. I have no complaints in my dating life personally, if we're going to get into that, trust me. My point is, in general, people are out here not happy in relationships. And I'm saying that some of the reason they're not happy in those relationships is because of the expectations that they have in this current day and age. And the comparison is typically based off of what they see from their parents. And you cannot have a successful relationship in this current environment trying to live like your parents did.
But that's the thing. And that's what I'm saying. I totally agree with that, because my thing is, you can't want to have a 1950s, 60s, 70s, and 80s relationship living in 2020, because the environment, the everything has changed across the board. Like, everything. There's nothing that was the same then and now. Nothing. Men are different, women are different, kids are different, food is different, the weather different, all of that. So it's like you can't compare then to now and then still want the same thing. You got to have some sort of evolution to it. And I do feel women when they say, hey, yeah, I want to be in a comfortable situation, but all that, I want to just be at home and you pay all the bills and I just be eating bonbons and shit. Well, you need to marry somebody with 6 figures upwards in $250,000 or up half, somewhere in there. If you just want to be popping bonbons. But if you want a solid relationship, you need to be with someone who y'all work together financially, emotionally, spiritually. Y'all both work on the house. Y'all both work with the kids. You have your you time, because we all, and that's just what it is. Like, all that I need to be taken care of. What did you do before me? That's the question. You had to handle this.
Or I guess my question would be, what do you bring to the table?
And that too.
That's on both sides.
not bringing to the table what I'm bringing to the table or more, then you wasting my time. You know, I don't mean just financially. Like finances can be made and they can be lost. The only
Absolutely.
thing that I give a fuck about at the end of the day is if you waste my time, because I can't buy that. I can't auction it off and be like, hey, I give you $1,000, give me 20 years. No, it don't work like that. So it's like, as long as you hold up your side, I hold up my side, we'd be happy, we'd be traveling, we'd be fucking, we'd be taking care of the kids, all of that. But all that take care of me stuff, no. That's for the birds. That's 1940, 50, 60, 70.
My point exactly. You proved my point exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, and the bad part is there are gonna be some women that's like, girl, you crazy. No, I'm not. I'm realistic. I'm extremely realistic because in this day and age, like you said, now we have more single parents, male and female, than probably we've ever had. And for those of us that are single parents, what's difficult is to actually let somebody take the reins, especially as Black women. So to sit here and say, oh, you want to be taken care of. Yeah, okay. Let some dude walk up here and be like, oh, I love you. I give you the world. I'll pay for this. I'll pay for that. Your kids is good. I'll pay for their college, whatever car you want, whatever house, all that stuff. She gonna give it up for a hot second until that feeling of control takes over. Then she gonna be like, oh, hold up, wait a minute.
Because it's gonna come with a level of control, right?
Yeah, you gotta let some of that go if you want somebody to take care of you.
And that's the thing.
That's the difference.
Great point.
Back then, our grandmothers and stuff, our granddads would be like, we got 4 kids in there, handle that. I'll be here at 5 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock, I need my dinner, and whatever else happens. But he took care of the house, she took care of the kids. But there was an understanding, and every marriage didn't work, every marriage didn't last 20, 30, 40 years, but there was a different understanding there. And it's a total different understanding. Right now, the women of my age, from 20 on up to past me at like 50, I would say, don't have that. Like we ain't built like that no more. We just not. Right. You know, and that's what they expecting. Well, you're gonna be expecting for a while because
I know that's right.
Because ain't no man out here like that. Like if you do find a guy that's gonna just take care of you across the board, it comes with a price. And that price is probably something that you don't want to pay. Like you can't maneuver like how you would maneuver if it was, and I hate to say a 50-50 relationship, but if it was a balanced relationship, you can maneuver different, you can move different, you have a lot more flexibility. You got somebody that's doing all the shit for you and you getting an allowance. If it was me handing out the allowance, with my dinner, with a kid, at volleyball, it's some shit come with it. And
then never not have a clean pair of underwear in my underwear drawer, all of that shit, right? If I'm paying all the bills.
I'm paying all the bills. I'm not going grocery shopping. I'm not cooking. I'm not cleaning. I ain't picking no kids up from volleyball, basketball, football, none of that. That's your job because you stay at home and eat bonbons all day.
And it ain't even that I think in a lot of cases, it ain't, I think because they're not even staying at home in the relationship. You know, they want it to be the man, I think you want the man, the security with the man. I just feel that as we evolve, we most definitely, everybody wants security. I mean, men, we can't say it because who we saying it to? You know, at the end of the day, it's our job typically to protect and to secure the household as the man of the house.
But then who protects?
That's the mentality, I should say. Right, wrong, and different. And I think what ends up happening is, I think that now we have women who are able to do just as much, if not more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but at the same time, we're still women. Like
right, but and that's a great point you bring up about being women, and I think that's what's getting lost in all of this.
Yeah,
you are still women, but with that being said, we're still men.
That's the thing. That's what I mean by the women that have that idea, oh, I want him to take care of this and do that and that. You don't understand what you're actually giving up to be in that position. Like, you giving him all the control. And in all honesty, with what you're asking for, you got to do that. But it's for us as women, yeah, we want to be protected. We want to feel secure. We want to be loved up on all the other good stuff and taken care of to a degree. Because at the same time, for me, any guy, any strong man that I know, if you want a good woman, you want somebody that's gonna have your back. You want somebody when you
want the same things you just said.
You want somebody that has you, that, you know, if you short, hey, we got it. Not, oh, well, what you gonna
right? What you gonna do, nigga?
Right? What you gonna do? Don't nobody have, like, in this day and age, don't nobody have time for that. Like, it's like, what? Like, we not equal partners, but we should be balanced. And sometimes the scales be like that. Sometimes they like this, sometimes they like that. But it does need to be a level of balance. And for women to sit here and be like, oh, well, I want to just be taken care of. Okay. It's right. A price.
You bring up some great points. And that's what I was alluding to for anybody who was not understanding. Shay hit the nail right on the head. Thank you for your comments. The point was nailed home, is that it's going to come with a level of responsibilities, just like it did back then. And that was my whole point. I'm sorry it took us so long to get there, but that was my point. Great topic, but we all have to do a better job understanding. Us as men, we have to understand and learn how to be more expressive. Say what it is that you want, and we'll get there. But our goal today wasn't to have that long of a discussion on relationships. I hope we helped y'all out, because me and Shay, we can talk about this all day long, as you can see. Dan was just in the corner like, hey, I'm gonna let y'all have it. But our goal today was to most definitely hit on the importance of understanding why your vote counts. We wanted to nail home that, and for those of you out there who typically use those sports analogies, vote or die. You got to be a little bit more articulate with your statements, and understand that there are people out there. We had someone on the show willingly admit that right, wrong, and different, most I don't care about, and the other I just don't know. So when we make comments like you got to do your research, or you got to start with your city council, sometimes we got to break it down some more than that. And I know it's frustrating for people who get it and understand and say that's on them. If they don't get it, F them. Well, for so long, I feel like in our community, that's what's been happening. It's been happening within the community, and it's damn sure happening outside, because to them outside, they look at us and say, if they don't care, why should we care? And it's not that people don't care. They don't know how to express and how to show that they care necessarily, and bring along those people that don't understand, who we think don't care. Because they care, we just haven't explained to them why they should care in the way that they understand it. That's my final thoughts on today. We've been on here for quite a while, so if there's any listeners that are still listening from beginning to end, Dan gonna get you a free t-shirt from TMZ. You just gotta call TMZ and they'll give you the details. No, seriously, we really appreciate everybody being on here today. Shay, you got another comment?
This is the best way I can put it, and I'm sure we've heard it before.
What's that?
But your vote is your voice. If you don't vote, you won't be heard. There you go. Period.
Great point. Dan, any final thoughts?
There's a great book out there called Powernomics by Dr. Claude Anderson. We talked about it before. If you want that blueprint on how to get your community organized and galvanized for elections and understanding politics and making those politics work for you, that is a great book to have. Again, that book is called Powernomics by Dr. Claude Anderson.
Awesome.
Other than that, man, just as far as people voting, if you want change to take place, if you're not happy with the amount of money you're making, if you're not happy with you know, you seeing people get gunned down in the street and nobody's being prosecuted for it. And some blatant cases we see, your vote is how you make those changes. You don't like the way your neighborhood look, you vote. It's how you make those changes. You one of those people who think that you should get equal pay for equal work. If you're a woman, your vote is what make those changes. So, I mean, and we can thank Justice Ginsburg for that particular legislation that got women an equal pay in the federal government, which just took place under the Obama administration with the Lilly Ledbetter Act. So I think understanding these issues that you have and how to solve them, a lot of this stuff is solved legislatively. It's not something you can go out and fix with a conversation. It's something that you fix at the ballot box. So, and all the way up and down the ballot from the top to the bottom. So let's make sure we educate ourselves on who is running and make sure we educate ourselves on how we can make those changes.
Educate our younger generation up under us, because I have a daughter that's 21, so she's capable of voting. All of us that have children that are of voting age, as much
This
as
will
you
be her first time to vote, right?
Mhm.
This will be her first chance, the opportunity to vote in the presidential election. 21. Awesome.
Right.
I'm like,
That's
yeah.
great. I'm looking forward to doing the same with my son. He turned 18 this year. He actually will get to vote in the presidential election as soon as he turned 18. So that's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Shay, for coming on today. You are awesome. We got to get you on here more often. I want to put you on the spot real quick here. I know you have a product line. If you could let our listeners know how they can reach out to you on some of your platforms, if you're still looking to bless customers with your beautiful products.
Awesome. Actually, yes. I have a line that's called Crochet Creations by Shay. You can find me on Facebook. It's connected also to my personal Facebook page, which is under Shamar Body Carey. I've been crocheting for years.
Awesome.
But everything from hats and scarves to...
Hey, I seen some pretty sexy stuff on there, ladies. Trust me. Check out that site with your significant other. I'm sure you'll find something on there that fit all occasions.
I have a couple pieces that are going to be coming out soon, and custom pieces. I'm working on a custom piece actually for my birthday in December. So
okay,
it's a lot of stuff coming out. And if you want something different, like I don't do cookie cutter stuff. What I make for you does not. It is not made for someone else. It is yours and yours alone. So
we're talking about custom stuff here, folks. So
and it's getting cold outside. Don't forget that you do scarves as well for anybody that's interested in getting a shade scarf to go with your winter coat. That would be nice too.
And like you said, it's getting cold out, but great products, you know, and the models on the page do an awesome job of modeling that product. But again, folks, thank you so much for listening to us. I know we went a little long on our Soapbox Sundays. I appreciate our guests. We had Steve on earlier. We got Shay closing out with us. Dan, before we get off of here one last time, let the people know how they can get in touch with us, man.
Well, they can reach us at Athena Protection Service on any social media platform. If you follow us on YouTube, please like and subscribe to videos and subscribe to the channel. And if you don't like the videos, then hit the thumbs down button and let us know why you don't like it. That would be informational if you don't like it. That would, because there are people that do hit it sometimes. So I want to know what you think.
Yeah, tell us what you think. But anyway, great talking with you guys tonight. To our listeners out there, thank you so much. I know we went over a lot of topics, but that's what we do. Y'all know how we get down. We're looking forward to some upcoming shows. As you see, we're trying to get more people to just join in and you know, tell us what you think about the current events. And if you're up and coming entrepreneur, you got a product that you're promoting, you got a passion, you know, we love to have you on, even if it's for a few minutes, to tell us about your product. We love to promote our own, and we'll continue to do that. Hey, everyone, please stay safe. These COVID numbers are, they're not going anywhere. You know, if you agree or disagree, wash your hands, be safe.
Wash your hands. Just wash your hands.
Wash your damn hands, folks. So the word of the day is wash your hands. But y'all take care. Shay, I love to hear.
Thank you.
I'm so jealous. All right, you guys have a great weekend.
All right.
Peace.
All right.
Got my phone.